Gentlemen, let me speak to you directly. By the time most men cross into their 60s, mornings rarely begin the way they used to. Once upon a time, a man would rise with strength, with certainty, with a firmness that spoke louder than words. But somewhere along the way, the silence crept in. The morning erections that once stood as a quiet but undeniable symbol of youth, vitality, and confidence are no longer there. And when they disappear, no one warns you. No one tells you how to bring them back. Doctors wave pills in your face. Advertisers sell promises that dissolve as quickly as they arrive. Yet the truth, my friends, is that the real solution may already be sitting in your kitchen, waiting patiently for you to rediscover it. Imagine this: one simple spice, taken the right way just 30 minutes before bed, has the power to alter what you wake up to in the morning. That's right, not a prescription, not a chemical, not another so-called miracle formula, just a spice. It may sound too simple, too ordinary, almost unbelievable. But sometimes the answers to life's greatest challenges hide in the smallest, most overlooked places, and this is one of those times. My name is Dr. Jonathan Prescott. For more than 30 years, I have walked beside men all across America, in small towns, in bustling cities, in farmhouses and suburban homes, as a urologist and men's health physician. I have listened to the frustrations, the doubts, the quiet shame, and the unspoken questions. I have seen what works and I have seen what fails. And what I am about to share with you is not a fantasy, not a commercial trick, but a method grounded in science and proven in the lives of men just like you. Men who had nearly given up and then, through the simplest of nightly rituals, found themselves standing taller, sleeping better, and waking with a vigor they thought had slipped away for good. Here is the paradox. Most men believe erections are built in the moment of passion. They think strength comes when desire strikes. But the truth is very different. Erections are built the night before while you sleep. They are built in the quiet hours when your body repairs itself, restores circulation, and releases testosterone. And what you place in your mouth before bed. Yes, something as small as that can decide whether you wake up weak or wake up with the kind of hardness that reminds you who you are. Tonight, I will share with you a 60-second Clove Method, a ritual that can relax your blood vessels, enhance your testosterone, and keep your manhood strong without pills, without gimmicks, without chemicals. But before I guide you through it, I want to ask something of you. If you are listening to me right now and you care about keeping your mornings alive, if you want your strength back, not only for yourself, but for your marriage, your confidence, and your dignity, then pause for just a moment. Hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another men's health truth I share here. Tap the bell so you're alerted the moment I release something new. And then, gentlemen, I invite you to do something even simpler but far more powerful. Press the like button. Why? Because when you take that tiny action, you're signaling not just to me, but to yourself that you are ready to fight back against decline. You're making a choice, a proud choice, to stand up for your vitality. And let me bless you as you do it. If you've just tapped like, may your mornings rise stronger than yesterday. May your nights bring you deeper sleep, richer dreams, and the kind of restoration that leaves you ready for whatever life brings. And may your confidence return in such a way that your wife, your partner, or even just the man in the mirror sees you not as a shadow, but as the full, living version of yourself again. Gentlemen, I promise you, a single click can carry more meaning than you imagine. Now, I'd also love to hear from you personally. If you're ready, truly ready to bring back stronger mornings, type 1 in the comments. If you are still unsure, type 0 and tell me what's holding you back. Your story matters because this channel is not just about information, it's about building a community of men who refuse to surrender their dignity to age. I read those comments and I respond because what we're doing here is bigger than one ritual or one spice. It's about reclaiming what aging tries to steal. So stay with me, because in the next few moments we'll unlock the hidden power of a natural compound inside cloves, a compound called Eugenol, a substance that ancient traditions praised for centuries, and that modern science has only recently proven to be one of nature's most remarkable allies. Gentlemen, tonight may be the turning point you've been waiting for. Gentlemen, let's be honest. One of the hardest questions a man ever asks his doctor doesn't sound medical at all. It sounds personal. I have heard it whispered across desks, spoken in frustration inside exam rooms, and sometimes even confessed with tears in the eyes of proud men who never thought they'd speak of such things. The words usually go like this: "Doctor, why is this happening to me? Why, after 60, do my erections feel weaker, shorter, less reliable?" That question carries a weight far beyond biology. For decades, a man's body responds on command. Desire rises, blood flows, strength arrives, and the act of intimacy feels as natural as breathing. Then, without warning, that response begins to fade. The body that once performed effortlessly now hesitates, the flame sputters, and with it a man's confidence falters. Here is the truth most men never hear. Erections are not simply about desire. They are the result of a symphony, blood flow, nerve signals, and hormones working together in harmony. And once a man passes 60, that harmony begins to stumble. First, the arteries themselves begin to stiffen with age. The flexible walls that once opened wide to allow blood to surge now resist, narrowing the flow. That means less blood entering the penis, less pressure, and a weaker erection. Second, the body's production of nitric oxide, the tiny molecule that signals blood vessels to relax and open, begins to drop. Without nitric oxide, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain firmness. Your body wants to respond, but the chemical messenger is no longer loud enough to deliver the signal. Third, testosterone. By midlife, this vital hormone starts a steady decline. Sometimes the slide is so gradual you don't notice until one day you realize your drive is gone, your recovery is slow, and your body no longer reacts the way it should. Without testosterone, not only does desire diminish, but the entire mechanism of erection loses its firepower. And let's not forget stress, poor sleep, even gum disease, yes, gum disease, all of which add invisible pressure to the system until it collapses. I often describe it to my patients like this. Think of your erections as a river. In your youth, the river is wide, powerful, surging with unstoppable energy. But over time, debris collects, the banks narrow, and the flow weakens. Plaque builds in your vessels, inflammation clogs the channels, and the once mighty river turns shallow. You still see water moving, but it's no longer enough to power the mill. One man I recall, Frank, a 62-year-old retired mechanic from Indiana, sat across from me with a mix of embarrassment and heartbreak. He said, "Doc, I still love my wife, I still want her, but when the moment comes, my body betrays me." That word betrayal stuck with me because that's exactly how it feels. A man spends his life working, providing, staying strong. And yet, when he asks his body for something so fundamental, it seems to turn against him. But I always tell men like Frank, this is not weakness, this is not failure, this is biology. Every man goes through it, but not every man must accept it. Here is the hopeful part. Just because the river slows does not mean it cannot be cleared. Just because nitric oxide production declines does not mean it cannot be restored. And just because testosterone dips does not mean your body has lost the capacity to respond. I have seen men in their 70s, even in their 80s, regain a strength they thought was gone forever. Not because they surrendered to pharmaceuticals, but because they embraced natural methods that support circulation, restore nitric oxide, and nudge testosterone back to healthier levels. Take Walter, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher from Ohio. When he first came to me, he believed intimacy was over. But by addressing inflammation, improving sleep, and adopting simple nightly habits, his mornings returned. He didn't just restore his erections. He restored his laughter, his confidence, the way he looked at his wife across the breakfast table. So, gentlemen, if you've noticed mornings growing weaker, if your body no longer responds as it once did, understand this. You are not broken. You are not alone. And you are certainly not finished. Your body is speaking to you, reminding you that change has come, but also inviting you to act. Because decline is not destiny. Biology can be worked with, redirected, even renewed. And this is where the Clove Method becomes so powerful. You see, once you understand why erections weaken after 60, the natural question becomes, how can I fight back? How can I give my body the raw materials it needs in the simplest way possible to restore flow, power, and pride? The answer, surprisingly, comes in a nightly ritual so small and so simple it almost feels like a secret. A ritual that requires no prescription, no embarrassment, no complicated planning. Just a single spice, a few minutes of patience, and a willingness to reclaim what age has tried to steal. Gentlemen, let me show you exactly how this ritual works. Gentlemen, before we rush into the ritual itself, I want you to understand the heart of why it works. Because it isn't the clove itself that performs the miracle. It is something hidden within that tiny spice, a compound so powerful that ancient healers praised it centuries before modern science confirmed its secrets. That compound is called Eugenol. When I first began treating men in their 60s and 70s who were struggling with weak or fading erections, I noticed a pattern. They had already tried nearly everything: expensive pills, powdered supplements, strange online concoctions shipped in brown boxes. Some had spent thousands of dollars chasing hope. Yet they came to me tired, frustrated, and in many cases ashamed. One man, Harold, a 67-year-old retired steelworker from Pittsburgh, leaned across my desk and said, "Doc, I can still haul wood, I can still shovel snow, but I can't keep an erection. And that's the one thing that makes me feel old." His words struck me deeply, because what Harold was really saying is what so many men feel. Erections are more than a physical function. They are tied to identity, pride, dignity. And when that part of a man weakens, he feels like the foundation of who he is has cracked. That's why I don't begin by handing men a prescription. I begin by teaching them about this extraordinary natural ally, Eugenol, found in cloves. Eugenol has been studied extensively for its ability to relax blood vessels, reduce inflammation, and protect the very tissues that allow an erection to form. When you place a whole clove in your mouth and allow its oils to slowly release, you are not just tasting something spicy. You are releasing eugenol into your system. It seeps through the delicate tissues of your mouth, enters your circulation, and begins to soothe inflamed arteries, calm oxidative stress, and open the pathways that carry blood into the penis. Think of it like oiling the gears of an old machine. The mechanism hasn't broken, it's just stiff, clogged, and rusty from years of wear. Eugenol greases the wheels, clears the passages, and allows the blood to surge the way it once did. What amazes me most is that the science now validates what ancient traditions always suspected. In Ayurvedic medicine in India, cloves were celebrated as an aphrodisiac, used to rekindle male vitality. In traditional Chinese medicine, cloves were prescribed for circulation, warmth, and longevity. These traditions, passed down for centuries, were not based on marketing or gimmicks. They were based on results. And today, modern clinical studies show why those healers were right. Eugenol directly enhances nitric oxide production, the very same pathway that expensive pharmaceutical pills attempt to manipulate. But here is the difference. Instead of forcing your body with chemicals, Eugenol allows your body to do what it was designed to do naturally. It is not a trick, it is a restoration. I have seen this countless times. Men who believed their intimacy was finished suddenly regained not just performance but pride simply by adding cloves into their nightly routine. George, a 70-year-old former truck driver from Nebraska, told me after 2 weeks, "Doctor, I didn't tell my wife what I was doing, but she asked me if I'd started exercising again." I laughed, because all I'd done was suck on a clove before bed. His smile wasn't just about erections, it was about confidence, about reclaiming something he thought was gone forever. And let me tell you, that kind of transformation is not rare. When a man places that clove in his mouth, he is not only preparing his body chemically, he is making a choice, reclaiming control, refusing to let aging dictate his manhood. Of course, some men are skeptical. They ask me, "Doc, can something as ordinary as a spice really make such a difference?" And my answer is always the same: yes, because it isn't about the spice, it's about the compound inside it. Eugenol interacts with your natural systems in a gentle, consistent way, supporting the foundation rather than patching the surface. Pills can work one night and fail the next. Eugenol builds over time, steady and reliable. So if you felt your mornings slipping away, remember this: there is real science and real hope packed into something as small as a clove. Eugenol is more than flavor. It is a pathway back to strength, dignity, and lasting performance. But to truly understand how to use it, you must first know the ritual, the way to unlock Eugenol so it works for you night after night. That's where the 60-second Clove Method comes in. And in the next part, I'll walk you step by step through exactly how to do it, so you can begin your own journey back to stronger mornings. Gentlemen, let me walk you through this ritual step by step. Many men expect me to hand them a complicated protocol, something that takes charts, pills, or long instructions. But what I'm about to describe is almost laughably simple, and yet I've seen it change men's lives. I remember one man in his late 60s, Robert, a retired electrician from Kentucky, who told me, "Doc, I don't want another prescription. I don't want another reminder that I'm broken. I just want something I can do myself quietly without feeling ashamed." That was when I leaned across my desk and explained the Clove Method. He raised an eyebrow, half amused, half doubtful, but he listened closely. "Here's what you do. About 30 minutes before bed, take 1 or 2 whole cloves, not powders, not capsules, not bottled extracts, but the real thing. Place 1 clove gently between your cheek and gum like you're tucking away a little secret. And then just let it sit there. Don't bite into it, don't chew right away, simply allow it to rest. Slowly, as minutes pass, you begin to suck on it. The taste will come alive, sharp, spicy, almost fiery, and that's the eugenol being released. This oil seeps into the tissues of your mouth and without waiting for your stomach to digest it, enters your bloodstream directly. Within moments, it's already at work, relaxing your vessels, lowering hidden inflammation, and setting the stage for tomorrow's strength. Most men can't believe it's that simple. Robert came back a week later chuckling, "Doc, that's it, a clove. I was expecting something harder, but I'll tell you what, my mornings don't feel the same anymore. It's like my body woke up with me." That sense of surprise is common. We think solutions must be complex, expensive, or dramatic. But sometimes nature whispers instead of shouts. The longer you let the clove rest, the more eugenol you release. It's like winding a spring at the end of the day, storing quiet energy that will unwind while you sleep. By the time you drift off, your body is already repairing, restoring, priming blood flow, and whispering to your hormones that tomorrow will be different. But the clove ritual is more than chemistry. For many men, it becomes symbolic. Each night, as you place that clove in your mouth, you are saying to yourself, "I am not finished. I still value my health. I still value my masculinity." It is a small act of defiance against the slow creep of age. I remember Daniel, a 71-year-old retired postal worker who told me after 2 weeks, "It's not just the mornings, Doc. I go to bed with hope again. That feeling alone is worth everything." It's natural, it's safe, and it's private. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need to arrange your evening around a pills schedule. You don't have to confess it to anyone if you don't want to. Just 60 seconds, 1 clove. And the willingness to stay consistent. The effects may start subtly, a little more rest at night, a faint stirring in the morning, but they build like a river gathering speed. The more faithfully you do it, the more your body learns to respond. That is why I tell every man who asks me about the Clove Method, don't underestimate it. This is not a gimmick. It's not a temporary spark. It is a way of priming your body's natural systems night after night, to return you to the strength you thought was gone. And yet, as with anything in medicine, timing matters. Doing the right thing at the wrong time can limit your results. The Clove ritual is no different. Place it at the right moment and you unlock its full potential. Place it at the wrong time and the results will be weaker, less consistent. So the next question becomes obvious: when exactly should you do this? In the next part, I'll explain why timing is the silent key. The difference between a modest improvement and a transformation that will surprise you every single morning. Gentlemen, every man who hears about the Clove Method eventually asks me the same question. "Doc, when should I do it? Morning, after dinner, right before sleep?" And I understand the curiosity because timing is everything. You can eat the right food, take the right supplement, or follow the right ritual, but if you do it at the wrong moment, your body won't respond the way you hope. Biology is not just about what you do, but when you do it. The truth is, your body runs on rhythms, cycles of repair, cycles of hormone release, cycles of blood vessel renewal. If you can align yourself with these rhythms instead of working against them, your results multiply. That's why I tell every man the best time to practice the Clove Method is 30 minutes before bed. Not in the morning, not at lunch, not casually after dinner, but in the quiet moment when the day winds down, when your body is preparing to rest. Why is that moment so powerful? Because while you sleep, your body does its most important work. Blood vessels repair themselves, nitric oxide is restored, inflammation is reduced, and testosterone, the very hormone of vitality, is released in waves during the deepest phases of rest. If you feed your body the right compound at the right time, you are planting a seed in the evening that blooms with surprising force by dawn. I remember Walter, a 68-year-old retired teacher from Ohio who had nearly given up on intimacy. He started this ritual at bedtime exactly as I described. A week later, he walked into my office with a quiet grin. He told me, "Doc, I didn't even tell my wife what I was doing, but she noticed. She noticed in the morning, and it's been years since we laughed together like that." He hadn't started a new diet, he hadn't taken a prescription. He hadn't changed his exercise routine. All he did was place a clove in his mouth before bed. And that was enough to restore something deeper than just an erection. It restored connection. There's also another reason bedtime is crucial. Most men don't realize that the majority of testosterone they produce each day happens while they're sleeping. If you're restless, tossing, turning, or waking every hour, you are robbing yourself of the very hormone that fuels desire, a performance and energy. But when you use the Clove method before bed, you're not only supporting blood flow, you're calming your nervous system, lowering stress, and setting yourself up for the deep, restorative sleep that drives testosterone production. In other words, you are stacking the deck in your favor. Of course, some men are impatient. They ask me, "Doc, can't I just chew a clove in the morning?" And my answer is simple: you can, but it won't be the same. The morning is when your body is already running, already spending energy. The night is when your body is charging, building, repairing. Think of it like a battery. You don't plug in your phone at noon and expect a full charge by evening. You plug it in overnight and by morning it's ready to go. Your body works the same way. Charge it at night and it will reward you in the morning. I have also seen men in their 70s who thought they were too far gone, too old for any improvement. Yet when they followed this simple nightly rhythm, the results surprised even them. Henry, a 74-year-old former railroad worker, told me, "Doc, I thought the river had dried up for good, but after 3 weeks I woke up one morning and realized I was wrong. My body still had life in it." His wife, he added with a smile, was just as surprised as he was. So gentlemen, remember this: timing is not a detail, it is the Do the Clove method at night. Do it consistently. Give your body the chance to work with you, not against you. It is the difference between faint results and lasting transformation, and here's the part that excites me most. When you begin this ritual consistently, you start to notice changes not only in performance, but in other corners of your health you never expected. Stronger mornings, yes, but also deeper sleep, calmer joints, sharper focus, and energy that carries through the day. That is why I always tell men, erections are only the beginning. The ripple effect reaches into every part of your life. And in the next part, we'll uncover why this little nightly act may be the spark that reignites your vitality far beyond the bedroom. Gentlemen, before I go further, I want to pause and do something I promised you. I read your comments, I read your emails, I read the messages that come late at night from men who are frustrated, hopeful, or even skeptical, and I want this podcast to be more than a lecture. I want it to be a conversation, a brotherhood of men who refuse to accept decline without a fight. So tonight, let me take a few of your questions from last week's episode and answer them directly. The first question comes from James, 72, in Arizona. He wrote, "Dr. Prescott, this clove idea sounds interesting, but is there any real science behind it, or is it just an old wives' tale dressed up?" James, I appreciate the honesty. Men deserve straight answers. The truth is, yes, there is science. Eugenol, the oil inside cloves, has been studied for its effects on blood vessel relaxation, nitric oxide support, and inflammation reduction. These are the very same pathways modern erectile medications attempt to manipulate. The difference is that Eugenol works gently and naturally. So no, this isn't folklore. It's nature meeting modern evidence. Next, a lighter comment from Bill, 65, in Florida. He joked, "Doc, if I put 2 cloves in my mouth before bed, will I wake up with the strength of 2 men?" Bill, I laughed when I read that. The truth is 1 clove is usually enough. 2 won't hurt, but don't expect to wrestle a bear in the morning. The power of the ritual isn't in the number, it's in the consistency. 1 clove every night is stronger than 5 cloves once a month. Now, let's address some skepticism. Mark, 70, from Michigan, wrote, "This sounds too simple. Are you just trying to make us feel better with a placebo?" Mark, I respect the challenge. And honestly, skepticism is healthy. But I'll tell you this, the men who try the Clove method don't just report erections. They report better sleep, less gum bleeding, lower blood pressure, and calmer moods. Those are not placebo tricks. That's the systemic effect of reducing inflammation and supporting circulation. Could belief play a role? Of course. But I'll take a placebo that improves my entire body over a pill that gives me side effects any day. Here's another that struck me deeply. Elaine, 67, from Texas, wrote on behalf of her husband, "Doctor, I see my husband avoiding intimacy. I see the shame in his eyes. Will something as small as a clove really help him, or am I clinging to false hope?" Elaine, I want to speak to you directly. Hope is not false when it's rooted in science and lived experience. I have watched men just like your husband reclaim not only performance but also confidence through this ritual, and more importantly, I've seen marriages heal because of it. Tell your husband that this is not weakness, this is biology, and biology can be worked with. And finally, a sharp one. Rick, 69, from New York, commented, "Doc, if this really works, why isn't every hospital in America handing out cloves?" Rick, fair question. The short answer is hospitals and pharmaceutical companies don't make money on cloves. A jar costs a few dollars and it can last months. Pills that cost hundreds will always be pushed harder. That's the reality. My job is not to sell you what's profitable, but to give you what works. Sometimes the truth is cheap, simple, and hiding in your kitchen cabinet. Gentlemen, I share these questions because they represent all of you, the curious, the doubtful, the hopeful, the frustrated, and the quietly determined. Each one matters. Each voice adds to the brotherhood we're building here. When you comment, when you share your story, you're not just talking to me. You're speaking to other men who feel alone, and you might just give someone the courage to try. So keep the questions coming, keep the comments alive. Tell me if you're trying the method. Tell me if it's working. Tell me if you doubt it. I want to hear it all, because this journey is not just about information, it's about connection. And next week, I may be reading your question here. Now that we've answered a few of your voices, let's move back into the science. Because while timing and ritual are powerful, what often surprises men most is how much broader the benefits become. Stronger erections are only the beginning. The Clove Method can ripple into better sleep, higher testosterone, and a renewed sense of energy that carries through the entire day. And that is where we turn next. Gentlemen, one of the most overlooked truths about a man's health after 60 is this. Your sleep and your testosterone are joined at the hip. You cannot separate them. If you are not sleeping deeply, you are not producing testosterone in healthy amounts. And if your testosterone is low, your sleep becomes restless, broken, and shallow. It's a vicious cycle, and too many men are caught inside it without realizing why their energy, their desire, and their erections are slipping away. That is why the Clove Method is far more than a spice ritual. It is not just about erections. It is about breaking this cycle at its core. When you place a clove in your mouth before bed, you're releasing Eugenol, that powerful natural oil. And Eugenol doesn't just help your blood flow. It calms your nervous system. It reduces the tension that keeps your mind buzzing long after the lights go out. It helps flip the switch from alert mode to recovery mode. And once your body enters that deep, restorative sleep, something remarkable happens. Your testosterone surges in waves. Most men don't realize this, but the majority of testosterone is produced at night. Not in the morning when you feel awake, but in the silent hours when your body is repairing itself. If you cut corners on sleep, you cut corners on testosterone. That means weaker erections, lower drive, slower recovery, and a constant sense of fatigue. But if you sleep deeply, you give your body permission to flood itself with the very hormone that makes you feel like a man. I'll never forget Gerald, a 71-year-old retired fire captain from Oregon, who told me, "Doc, I haven't had a full night's sleep in 10 years. I wake up 2-3 times a night, and every morning I feel drained before the day begins." I encouraged him to try the Clove Method, not just for erections, but for rest. 2 weeks later, he returned with a grin I'll never forget. "Doctor, I don't know what magic is in those cloves, but I'm sleeping like I haven't since I was 40, and let me tell you, the mornings, well, they've come back too." His wife, he said with a laugh, was the first to notice. That story has repeated itself more times than I can count. Men who thought they needed injections, gels, or expensive therapy discovered that by simply chewing or sucking on a clove before bed, they were restoring their nights. And by restoring their nights, they were restoring their hormones. And by restoring their hormones, they were restoring their strength. It becomes a cycle that works for you instead of against you. Better sleep builds more testosterone. More testosterone strengthens erections. Stronger erections reduce stress. Less stress deepens sleep, and on it goes. The beauty of this is how natural it feels. You're not forcing your body with chemicals. You're not shocking your system with drugs. You're supporting what your body was designed to do in the first place. And because it is gentle, it builds momentum day by day. That's why men who stick with the Clove Method often report that not only do their mornings improve, but their energy through the day, their mood, even their focus becomes sharper. One of my favorite stories came from Leonard, a 69-year-old retired jazz musician in Chicago. He laughed and told me, "Doc, I started this for my bedroom. I didn't realize it would make me want to pick up my saxophone again. I feel lighter, more alive, more creative. My wife says I smile more. I didn't know cloves could bring music back into the house." What Leonard described is exactly what I hope every man finds, not just restored performance, but restored joy. So remember this, when you chew that clove before bed, you are not only priming your blood vessels, you are preparing your body to sleep deeper, to release more testosterone, to wake up with energy you thought was gone. It is not a trick. It is not a placebo. It is biology given the right support at the right time. Gentlemen, I want you to imagine what your life would feel like if you woke each morning refreshed, full of drive, ready not only for intimacy but for work, for play, for family, for the things that make life rich. That is the promise hidden inside this tiny spice. And yet, there is another hidden enemy I need to warn you about, one that destroys erections from an angle most men never suspect. It doesn't come from your heart, your hormones, or your sleep. It comes from your mouth. And if you're not paying attention to it, no pill or ritual will save your performance. That's where we're headed next. Gentlemen, after all these years in medicine, I've learned that the enemies of a man's vitality rarely show up where he expects them. Most men assume their performance fades because of the heart, or because of hormones, or maybe just because of age. But few ever stop to consider their mouth. That's right, gum disease, something as ordinary as bleeding when you brush or soreness when you chew, can quietly sabotage your erections. It surprises almost every patient I tell this to. They look at me with disbelief. Doc, you're telling me my gums have something to do with my manhood? And I answer them without hesitation, absolutely, because the same blood vessels that feed your gums feed your heart, your brain, and yes, your penis. When your gums are infected or inflamed, bacteria leak into your bloodstream. Those bacteria fuel inflammation that narrows arteries everywhere. And when those arteries narrow, blood cannot surge where it needs to when it needs to. The result is weaker, shorter, less reliable erections, even in men who seem otherwise healthy. I remember Thomas, a 65-year-old retired pilot from Colorado. He came to me in excellent shape. He exercised daily, ate reasonably well, had no history of heart disease or diabetes, and yet his erections had grown soft and inconsistent. Nothing added up until I asked a simple question, "Thomas, how are your gums?" He paused, almost embarrassed, and admitted, "I've had bleeding for years, doc, but I thought it was nothing." That nothing was everything. The bacteria from his gums were flooding his bloodstream, damaging his vessels, and choking off the very flow he needed. Within months of addressing his oral health and adding the Clove Method at night, Thomas saw a remarkable change. His dentist even commented, "Your gums look younger." His mornings looked younger too. Science backs this up. Gum disease doesn't just raise your risk of losing teeth. It raises your risk of heart disease, stroke, and yes, erectile dysfunction. The body doesn't separate oral health from sexual health. They are connected by the same circulation. When one end of the highway is damaged, traffic slows everywhere else. And here's where the Clove Method shines even brighter. Eugenol, the oil inside cloves, has been used for centuries as a remedy for toothaches and gum infections. It fights bacteria, reduces gum inflammation, and soothes pain. So when you place that clove in your mouth before bed, you're doing double duty. You're not only priming your body for erections, you're bathing your gums in a natural antiseptic that strengthens the very foundation of your health. I've had men call me weeks after starting the ritual saying, "Doc, I thought I was doing this for my performance, but my dentist says my gums look healthier." That is not coincidence. That is the hidden gift. Stronger gums mean less inflammation. Less inflammation means freer blood flow. And freer blood flow means stronger erections. It's all connected. Think about that the next time you spit blood into the sink. That drop of red is not just about your mouth. It is your body's warning flare that something deeper is wrong. Don't ignore it. Your gums may be whispering the truth about your arteries long before your heart or your penis shows obvious signs. I like to tell my patients that manhood isn't protected by pride but by prevention. You can lift weights, you can eat protein, you can even take medication, but if you neglect your gums, you are leaving the gate wide open for decline. That is why this nightly clove ritual is so powerful. It defends you on two fronts at once, the visible and the invisible. Gentlemen, your mouth is speaking to you. Listen to it, care for it, protect it. Because when you protect your gums, you protect your circulation. And when you protect your circulation, you protect your manhood. Now, by this point, you may be wondering, if I begin this nightly ritual, how quickly will I notice results? Will it take months, years, or will the changes come faster? That's the question every man asks me. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly what to expect at 7 days, at 14 days, and at 30 days, so you'll know the road ahead before you even take the first step. Gentlemen, one of the questions I hear most often is this: "Doc, how long will it take before I feel something? Am I going to waste my time, or will this really work?" And I understand the impatience. When your mornings have been quiet for years, when every sunrise feels like a reminder of decline, you don't want to wait months for proof. You want to know when the flicker of life might return. That's why I always lay out a clear timeline for my patients so they know what to expect and when. In the first 7 days, something subtle but powerful often begins to happen. Many men tell me they start sleeping more deeply, sometimes for the first time in years. They stop waking 3-4 times a night. They feel calmer when they close their eyes, as if their bodies finally release tension they didn't even realize they were carrying. And with that deeper sleep, the first sparks begin to show. Gentle stirrings in the morning, maybe not the full strength they remember, but enough to remind them their body still knows how to respond. I've had men call me nearly in tears after 1 week, saying, "Doc, I thought that part of me was gone forever." 7 days is often enough to prove that hope is not wasted. By 14 days, the changes usually become impossible to ignore. Sleep continues to improve. But now energy during the day rises as well. Men who used to drag themselves from bed tell me they feel sharper, steadier, more motivated. Some begin to notice desire returning, not just the physical ability, but the mental spark, the way they look at their wives, the way they carry themselves. Erections that were soft or inconsistent begin to feel firmer, more reliable. They last longer, giving men the confidence they haven't felt in decades. One man, Howard, a 70-year-old retired carpenter from Maine, told me, "Doc, I didn't just get my mornings back, I got my marriage back. My wife looks at me differently and I look at myself differently too." 14 days is often when the pride begins to return. At 30 days, the transformation can feel nothing short of dramatic. This is when men often say, "I feel like I've turned back the clock." Erections become not only stronger but also more frequent. Stamina improves, meaning intimacy lasts longer and feels more satisfying. The combination of better sleep, higher testosterone, and healthier circulation creates a man who feels renewed, not young again but strong again. I remember Clifford, a 73-year-old retired Marine from California, who told me, "Doc, every morning I wake up proud. My wife keeps asking what's gotten into you and I just smile." That smile wasn't only about performance, it was about dignity, about reclaiming the part of himself he thought was lost. And here's the beauty of this timeline: it doesn't stop at 30 days. The longer you continue, the more your body benefits. Improvements stack like bricks, building a foundation stronger with each passing week. Sleep deepens, energy rises, confidence grows. Erections become steady, not occasional. What starts as a nightly ritual becomes a lifestyle, a rhythm that supports your health in ways you never expected. Gentlemen, think of it as a journey. 7 days gives you hope. 14 days restores your confidence. 30 days transforms your mornings. Beyond that, you are building momentum that carries into every corner of your life. This is not a quick fix. It is not a magic pill. It is your body responding to consistent care, to a natural method that works with your biology instead of against it. I want you to picture yourself 1 month from now. You wake up, and before you even swing your legs out of bed, you feel it. Firmness, strength, presence. You stand taller, not only because of what happened in the night, but because of what it means. It means you are not finished. It means your manhood is alive. It means aging did not win. That moment alone can ripple through the rest of your day: how you speak, how you move, how you love. So if you've ever wondered whether it's worth trying, let this timeline be your map. Don't expect miracles overnight, but do expect progress. Do expect your body to respond if you give it the chance. And do expect that within a month, you may feel more like yourself than you have in years. Now we have walked through the science, the ritual, the timing, and even the hidden benefits. There is only one piece left to bring it all together, because while cloves and eugenol can restore strength, the deeper question is how you carry this forward, how you embrace the years ahead not as decline, but as an opportunity to reclaim your vitality, your confidence, and your manhood. That's where we turn next. Gentlemen, we've walked together through the science, the stories, and the simple truth hidden inside something as small as a clove. We uncovered the power of eugenol. We faced the reality of why erections weaken after 60. We explored the nightly ritual, just 60 seconds, that can rebuild blood flow, deepen sleep, raise testosterone, protect your gums, and restore confidence. We traced the journey day by day, week by week, so you know exactly what to expect in 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days. And I hope by now you see the bigger picture. Decline is not destiny. I think of the men who sat across from me, defeated, convinced their mornings of strength were gone forever. And then I think of those same men weeks later, walking taller, smiling with pride, speaking with joy in their voices again. That is what this ritual can do. It is not magic. It is not a gimmick. It is simply your body responding to patience, to consistency, to nature's own medicine. Tonight, before you close your eyes, remember this: you have more power than you think. Place that clove in your mouth. Give it 60 seconds. Let your body do the rest. Tomorrow morning may surprise you, not just with strength, but with dignity, with hope, with proof that you are not finished. And if this message has reached you, if it has stirred something in your spirit, I ask you for three things. First, hit subscribe so you never miss another men's health truth we share here. Second, press like not just as a button, but as a declaration that you are ready to fight back against decline. And third, leave a comment. Tell me if you're trying this. Tell me what's working. Tell me your doubts, your questions, even your jokes, because your voice matters and it may give another man the courage to begin. If you've just tapped that like button, let me bless you in return. May your mornings grow stronger. May your nights bring rest and renewal. And may you stand each day with the quiet pride of a man who refuses to let age define him. Gentlemen, you are not broken. You are not finished. You are more alive than you know. And the journey back to strength begins tonight with something as small as a clove.